Hi, my name's Holly Mackay. I'm the founder and chief exec of Boring Money. Welcome to the third of our video blogs as we go on our automatic enrolment journey. And what this week's vlog is all about is which one of the providers out there we picked for our pension scheme. Now, coming up on the screen, you'll see the names of 6 providers, and these are the guys who made it through to our final shortlist. And what I'm going to do today is to walk you through what I think are the pros and the cons of each. Let's start with Aviva. Now, Aviva is a massive, great big household name, and I think of them as a very safe pair of hands. There are some employer costs involved. You'll pay between 30 and 50 quid a month. So if you've only got a few employees, I think this is probably too much to pay for that. But if you've got 10 plus employees, it's still in the ballpark. In terms of what your staff will pay on an ongoing basis, they'll pay 0.75% a year, and this is pretty standard. I think it's fair value. So all in, I think Aviva's a good household, solid option. Next up, let's look at Nest. Now, this is the government option, and it's what I think of as the baked beans variety of auto enrolment. It's cheap and it's probably quite cheerful. As the employer, there are no setup costs for you, so this is really good. If you're, for example, looking for a scheme for a nanny, or you might have one employee, this is going to be a low-cost way to go about it. But it's a very sort of limited baked beanie kind of option, and it's good for people who are looking after small amounts of staff and staff who really won't get that excited or want to get that involved in the investment options or indeed the scheme itself. Next up, I want to look at a group called True Potential. Now, this is a smaller brand. It's actually a financial advisor firm, and they're very good on tech. So I think this is an interesting option for firms with, say, 10 to 20 staff who might run in the IT sector, or they might run an accountancy practice. That noise was just the cat coming in the cat flap. Great timing as ever. So I think for employers, it's a good option. So I think this is an interesting option for smaller firms, maybe 1 to 30 employees, maybe in the IT sector, in finance or law, where you might have staff that are interested in setting up schemes on the side and going online and checking out how those extra investments they may choose to take out are doing. For you, the employer, there's no setup cost, so it's good. And for the employees, it's 0.75% a year. Again, that's very typical and decent value. So I think one to look at if you're dealing with staff who you think will actually get interested in this and could use it as a springboard to start saving more broadly. Fourth on our list is a group known as the People's Pension, and as the name suggests, you know, this is what they do. They've been doing it for a long time, and I hear great things about the efficiency and the admin from people working in the industry. Apparently, it just works. The rub is that as the employer, you have a one-off setup fee of £500. Now, the trade-off with that is that the ongoing costs for your staff are really low. They're just 0.5% each year. So I think this is quite an interesting option for firms with maybe 8, 9, 10 plus employees who don't mind that initial setup fee because you're buying peace of mind with a very established old pair of hands, but where the cost to your staff on an ongoing basis are pretty low. Next up is Standard Life. They're a big, old, solid brand, and many of you will have heard of them. Again, another safe pair of hands. And also they have very good underlying investment options, which make this quite an interesting proposal, especially for people whose staff will want to look into the investments that sit underneath this pension bonnet. The thing that slightly puts me off as a smaller employer is that I'll have to pay charges of up to £100 a month. Now, that's fine if you've got about 30 staff, but for the smaller employers out there, it may feel a bit pricey. As for your staff, well, the ongoing costs are the very standard 0.75% each month. month. So I think this is quite a smart option. I do like it. I think it's looking after your staff really well from an investment point of view, but you need to have the numbers involved in your business to justify those costs of up to £100 a month for you, the employer. Last up, we looked at a firm called Fleming. Now these guys are a bit pricey. There's a setup cost to you, the boss, of about £1,500 to £2,000. So that is pretty off-putting, but then you realise it's fully outsourced. That means they will do all the communications, all the letters to your staff. They'll faff around doing payroll and all that integrating. There'll be no downloading CSV files and trying to upload them anywhere else. So it's very good, I think, for those firms with about 10 to 30 staff where you, the boss, would otherwise be doing it, and frankly you can get better value out of using your time elsewhere. So I think a really interesting option for those time poor businesses where you, the boss, have quite a high charge out rate. So definitely worth a look there. So which scheme are we going to go for? Well, I discounted Nest because my guys are interested in investments and we want something a bit more spicy than the bog standard option. But I'm also a smallish firm or a small employer, so I don't really want to wear any hefty setup fees or any ongoing monthly fees. So that narrowed it down for me to the People's Pension. Now I will have to pay £500 as a boss to get it set up, but the ongoing costs for my guys are a very low 0.5%, so I think it's a really good deal for them. I'm also quite intrigued by True Potential because they have no cost to me, the boss, and the ongoing charges of 0.75% are very reasonable. That they're less proven in the pension space, but they've got great tech, and I can see for my staff it would be really easy for them to keep in touch with their pensions. If they wanted to set up any other savings pots on the side, again it would be easy for them to do that. So what I'm going to do, the benefit of being a small company, is that I can put it to the vote. So I'm going to take the People's Pension with all the pros and cons and True Potential to my guys, and we'll have a vote and we'll report back in a few weeks' time online which option we went with. Thanks for watching. I hope this series has been useful. You can get heaps more information on boringmoney.co.uk. Thanks.